Welcome to CNC Learn and Build. I'm Randy Johnson. In this series of videos, I'm going to show you how to use the SHARK RS1000 Pro CNC router table to cut a variety of joints. The RS1000 Pro comes with over 12 built-in joinery apps, and you can find links to all of them in the description below this video. It's also worth pointing out that when setting up the RS1000 Pro, all of the apps use the same 9 basic steps. I'll go over all of them in detail, but you'll find that once you become familiar with them, operating the RS1000 Pro is pretty straightforward. In this video, I'll show you how to make a sliding dovetail using the RS1000 Pro. The first step is to install the router bit. For this setup, I'm using a 14-degree, half-inch diameter dovetail bit, but the app accepts dovetail bits of other angles and diameters. Start the setup by installing the bit. Use the pendant to move the fence back and raise the collet above the table, and then change the bit as usual. Next, open the setup window and enter the bit diameter, which is a ½ inch in this case. There are a few places in the pendant where you can enter the bit diameter, but I prefer doing it here, plus it's needed for the fence calibration, which is coming up shortly. With the bit diameter entered, open the app menu and select the touch plate calibration option. I'm starting with the bit calibration first. Click through until the white control button appears. Click on this button to open the control window and use the down button to lower the bit below the table. Next, attach the magnet to the bit or the collet and click OK to advance to the next screen. Check that the magnet has a good connection by touching the plate to the bit. If this checks out, click OK to start the bit calibration. The bit will automatically rise up, touch the bottom of the plate, and go back down below the table. Click OK to accept the results. Next, open the Run Fence Calibration and click through again to the screen with the white control button. Press this button to open the control screen and use the buttons to raise the bit above the table and bring the fence forward a bit. Now rotate the bit so the flutes are square to the fence. I find the touch plate works as a nice guide for this step. Then put the plate between the fence and the bit. Check OK to advance to the next screen, and tip the plate onto the bit to check the connection. Click OK to start the fence calibration move. With the bit and the fence calibration completed, remove the magnet and the touch plate from the work area. Use the buttons on the main screen of the pendant to back off the fence and lower the bit, and then replace the insert ring. Next, open the Apps menu and select the Sliding Dovetail app. Within the app, there are several parameters that need to be set up before you can run the app. The first parameter allows you to add some clearance to the tail. I leave this at 0 the first time through. I can add some later if the joint is too tight. For the tail depth, I enter 0.375, which is half the thickness of my material, but you can adjust this more or less to fit the needs of your project. Next, I set up the tailboard thickness, which is 3/4 of an inch for the boards I'm using. Next up is the start offset. This setting determines the distance of the dovetail socket from the edge of the board. I'm setting this to 1 inch for this project. The socket width is next. This has to be at least equal to the large diameter of your dovetail bit, but it can be larger if you wish. For this project, I'm setting it to 0.6, which is slightly larger than the ½ inch bit I'm using. Enter the bit angle next, which is 14 degrees in this case. It's also important to verify the bit diameter in this screen, since several other settings are calculated based on this one dimension. I'm now ready to run the tail portion of the joint. Proceed through the screens until the fence and the bit are positioned for the first cut. Cut the first side of the tail, and then flip the board over and cut the second side. This approach ensures that the tail is perfectly centered on the end of the board. Next, select the Run Socket part of the app. Again, click through until the fence and bit are positioned for the first cut. With the first cut complete, click OK to reposition the fence for cut 2. With both the tail and the socket parts cut, test the fit. It looks like I got a nice snug fit the first try. If the joint had been too tight, I would have gone back and added some clearance. But since these settings work, I could use them on the rest of my project, or on other projects, as long as my material is exactly the same thickness. For links to other RS1000 Pro joinery apps, see the description below this video.